Let's get one thing out of the way. It is perfectly okay for someone to not enjoy or want to watch or consume certain types of subject matter. And that's why when anime episodes or shows have content warnings that warn you about the type of things that may trigger someone, that's perfectly okay. So just know that today's Dark Gathering episode, it does deal with suicide. And if that's something that you can't consume, don't want to consume, don't feel the need to watch this episode, watch this video, that is okay. No one should be shunned for not enjoying or wanting to consume some pretty heavy subject matter. And I just want to say that because I always see it anytime there's a content warning, there's always someone complaining in comment sections or saying, oh, we shouldn't be pandering to sensitive this, that. No, like, go away. That's all I'm going to say to you. Because while, yes, there is a lot of comfiness in this Dark Gathering episode, I mean, there's a lot of funny faces, a lot of funny moments, the actual result of what was happening in this episode is quite heavy, and I think it was only a matter of time before something like this was touched upon. I don't need a content warning to tell me that an episode's going to be dark or twisted. Everything I've seen about this show has proven that each episode is going to do something that messes with me, either makes me creeped out, outright horrified. I knew something like this was only a matter of time. So, when the punchline comes, it still did find a way to pull the rug from under my feet because it was a mass suicide. It's something where a spirit takes over and forces this situation so it can just cling to whatever life you want to call that, and it is very, very disturbing. And they did a very good job at making a very impactful episode, even if I still walk away saying, goddamn Mako, you need a damn restraining order, especially if you're filming our boy and corrupting the youth into thinking this is a healthy thing to do. Now, if you would like to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch today's heavy Dark Gathering episode, it is available on my Patreon, full live reaction over there if you're interested. This was a great episode. Heavy episode, but great episode. And I think the way they built into this moment, like, even without the content warning, you could probably assume something was going to happen. And almost immediately, I was worried that something was laced in the bottle of water. Now, I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to go because the content warning said it dealt with suicide. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, you can't just roofie the boy and then, what's going on? Just the idea of forcing a group suicide like this just wasn't on my radar. And when he basically gets the shivers, I was like, yep, something's laced, something bad is going to happen. And instead, they kind of bait you away from that, saying, oh, he just has a very good way of getting shivers about anything supernatural. And then when the story starts playing, all bets were off. And they did a really good job at talking about how the same name pops up. It's this club, they changed their name, the Suicide Watch Club, and the fact that it just builds into such an ominous way. And I think my favorite thing about Dark Gathering is how each episode with its spooks or its creepy or its outright horrifying atmosphere, they don't really play the same cards twice. They always do things differently. And for a boy who now has the goal of, this creeps me out, I don't want to be around it, but I want to heal Aiko. I want to set her free. It makes sense why he's now actively even looking for the things that he tried to run away from in the third episode or something like that. And to see the faces and to just wake up seeing that he's a moment away. I actually thought everyone was dead when they rescued, but as seen by the paramedics, it seems like they did make it this time. But it's crazy because just the idea of using a spirit to hit such sensitive subject matter, and I can tell this is just scratching the surface. It's probably going to go in way darker and more twisted direction. I wouldn't even be surprised if eventually in this show they deal with sexual predators being possessed or things like that. There's a lot that they could do, and I think when you look at, I've always really liked this about ghost stories, is how when you look at some of the craziest things, look at the happiest person, why would they end up jumping off a building, or why would they take their life, all these things. It's interesting when a ghost story will use it as they were possessed by an evil spirit, and that's why sometimes it wasn't just depression silently eating away, it's something that actually possessed them. And the idea of this spirit where, I honestly have to admit, for a little girl, she'd be frighteningly strong at taking care of adults. At first, I thought she was just going to bash his head in with the bottle of sake, but the idea of almost trying to flush it out of his system, and then when that doesn't work, she actually cracks him over the face. Absolutely loved it, and just the way she hogties that fool, was brilliant. But the idea that, how can you keep something? Because it's not like something that's already dead could then keep on consuming or doing different things to keep it around. And the idea of then using the ringleader here to kill himself, and because he was hanged, the idea of at level so he can eat his guts, it's just so messed up, and they really did a good job, not only with this episode, but all 5 episodes doing something vastly different with the horror, whether it's the dolls in a cellar, whether it's a phone booth, just they start with such a basic idea that kind of gets you interested, and then just each passing episode, it gets weirder and more twisted and more dark. Like I said at the start, there is humor and there is these jokes and these simplistic moments, but I don't really find that it takes it away, because when you look at characters like Eiko, or you look at characters like Yayoi, they're broken, they're mentally disturbed, so them just kind of being casually, Scooby-Doo, let's get out of here, as our boys literally like, I almost got killed and I'm absolutely petrified. It does a good whiplash experience, and while it is a very different feeling from what the subject matter is telling, you understand the brokenness of this cast in general and how these situations can occur. Now, the glasses, big red flag. Now, Yayoi I can kind of excuse because she is a kid, she lost her parents at a young age, she doesn't have the best role model right now in Eiko. But I mean, between the photo booth of all these horrible situations and those smiles, to the fact that he has no idea he's being filmed, not only just being filmed, heart monitor, breathing, everything, how long until he goes into the men's washroom to take a leak and she just sees something that she can't get enough of? Like, this is some restraining order level BS. And honestly, man, despite episode 1 making me feel like our boy's probably also twisted given that big smile he once had, I have no idea where we're truly going with this, and it once again highlights why I'm so happy this is a 2-core, because there is so much to explore, and it feels like we're still just scratching the surface of this one. And like I said, I mean, different subject matters hit people differently, and I don't think we should ever shun people for not wanting to consume certain types of subject matter. I look at an episode like this and I say, yeah, that's definitely some heavy themes, but it doesn't disturb me to the point where I can't look at it. But everyone has different tolerances, right? And I think what a show like this is doing a great job at is really making the world feel haunted and possessed, and because of that, all these horrible things that can happen to people now have a way to naturally be written into a ghost story, and I like having a character like Keitaro who, he just seems like a normal guy, but is so scared but has a reason to stick by, especially after trying to separate himself from this group. A broken child who, honestly, man, I understand why she wants to find lost spirit parent, but at the same time, she is broken. And then Eiko, I mean, she horned up on the danger, man. She beyond broken. Just don't stick your dick in crazy is pretty much the lesson with that one. But either way, this is one of my favorite of the season. This is hands down going to be in my top 10 of this year for anime. And the more I watch, the more I love if my passion isn't getting that through. Let me know what you thought down below if you watched this episode. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more Dark Gathering to the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to today's very interesting episode available on my Patreon, and hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Anthony Tung, One Up Annie, Out of Ideas, Pafu, and Anthox. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.